For time for questions, it says I still got 3 minutes, but I don't
Yes,
know. You're on a tight schedule.
Any questions right now? Pamela?
There is a assembly bill in California that you can go in, you don't have to use the machines, you can do it by hand, and you put it in a little black box. Now, do they send it to a machine?
Yeah, they're gonna scan it later at the county processing center.
Okay, so.
Every ballot has to be scanned as state law.
Okay, so it's still going through a machine even if you do it by hand?
Correct, so, I'm saying, you mean our simple process that we want?
Well, no, not what we want, what's happening right now. I just,
Yeah.
when I do it by hand, you think, okay, I didn't do it in the machine, so that particular hacking possibility, whatever, is no longer valid. But when I do it by hand and stick it in the box, and it goes to processing center.
Someone's gonna scan that ballot later.
So it goes back to the machine thing?
Correct, and if
Okay.
you made a mistake filling out the boxes, then someone else is gonna decide what your intention was for you.
Okay.
So, yes, sir.
Okay, so, oh, thank you so much. Okay, so the first question would be, what did you see the RNC, Lara Trump, et cetera, do better this time compared to 2020? Because they clearly the outcome was certainly much, much better.
Correct.
What do you see that happened? And the second question is, what is Florida doing right now? Because I think they have the best statewide system.
So Laura Trump and the RNC, Laura as the vice chair for the RNC, they weren't caught flat-footed, number one. So they had attorneys set in place in all of the swing states and big counties to take action and effect immediately. There was 146,000 ballots that were duplicated in Michigan. Within 24 hours, they had those things discounted and removed. In Pennsylvania, they told everybody that they were gonna stop counting again on election night. Does that sound familiar?
Oh, yeah.
And the RNC interjected and immediately forced them to continue counting and not be able to get away with that. So their ability to react quickly and be prepared across these really key swing states made a major difference, and we saw how many of those that President Trump won. Second question again, sir?
Regarding Florida, what is Florida doing that you like? And because would you say
So
that
they
they're the
don't-
best system
They don't
in the
have
state?
as much vote by mail processing as we do.
Okay.
And so our vote by mail processing, still most people are voting, 50, 60, 70% of people that turn out to vote are voting by mail. And all those ballots come flooded in after election day, and then the county's gotta go through sorting it, signature verifying it. If it's challenged, signature verify it again through 6 different tiers, send a curing letter out to the voter to fix that signature, go through and review it again, do ballot duplication anytime a scanner can't scan it, do quality control of the ballot being duplicated, walk that over, tabulate those votes. All of that stuff is all the steps that we're having to do in our elections, and that's why they're taking so long. We can affect change in our election the next time we have a big statewide election by most of us going to vote in person and casting our own ballot instead of putting it through the vote by mail system.
Okay.
Now there's going to be less to process, right?
Okay.
Yes.
If I saw that correctly, I think it said 75 million wasted ballots.
Just from 2016 to 2022, not even including this year's election.
Okay, so that's wasted, that's not total, but 39 million in the state, what's?
Well, there's 22 million voters, so maybe 39 million people, but there's 22 million
Yeah,
voters
of
in
course,
California.
yeah.
Correct.
So 3 times the number of legal voters, and so what's the, is that accounted for by moving, or what?
So
It sounds like the rolls are really messed up.
So we're sending a lot, the voter rolls are absolutely messed up, 100%. How many people have heard about someone that keeps getting ballots at a house, right? They keep trying to tell the county their father died, but they keep getting a ballot for their father.
Here's the record, folks. They're getting these.
They didn't receive their ballot, and so they request a duplicate ballot. All of those things, there's stories like that almost everywhere that I go and talk to and speak to people. And that's contributing towards that large number of really unused ballots. And there's quite a percentage of people that actually go and vote in person. So they changed the laws in 2023 that you could use your vote by mail ballot to actually vote in person. But before that, your vote by mail ballot was worthless and trash if you decided to vote in person. So, yes, ma'am.
Are there statistics available for the votes that come in that are wasted or whatever you want to call them? If there's a misuse or based on duplication or someone else using the ballot or?
So that takes a lot of finite analysis and knocking on doors to get into actual independent investigation to go and see how many ballots were mailed out or how many registered voters that we had, because that's how many ballots were mailed out, and then how many participated. That's a pretty simple thing to get from the Secretary of State's website. But getting into what's happened in a local city council race or in a local county race or so forth, that takes going and analyzing the data, looking at the people that voted, knowing kind of where the pockets are, people that are registered at businesses, people registered at post office boxes, and then you have to knock on doors to verify some of that. The data only really shows you so much. Do you know in your county, in Compton, California in 2020, and anybody can look this up, there's a city council race in the city of Compton that was won by one vote.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
And then
The
the
guy,
elections official judge
Yep.
went and reviewed that and kicked out 4 votes that weren't in the district. So a race was won by 1 and lost by 3. The threshold for fraud isn't enough to overturn an election result. That's not the threshold, and don't let them tell you that. The threshold is by Congress passing the Civil Rights Act of 1965. When one voter's voice is disenfranchised, that is a violation of their civil rights and should be taken as seriously as possible. Who here has ever been compromised on their debit or credit card, right? Like $17 charge in Chicago, and you're like, what's going on? When you call up the bank and you go, hey, I've got this $17 charge in Chicago, do they go, well, call us back when it's $500? Of course not. But we're not treating our votes as important as our money, and we're not looking at it from that perspective. So you don't wait until there's enough fraud to overturn an election to start looking into it. You've got to be proactive so you're understanding how it can happen in the vulnerabilities and be able to stop that before it does. Yes?
We have one question here. Anybody else? I've got one more chance. Okay. Steve?
My mail-in ballot, I didn't receive it in the mail, and my daughter, who's newly registered, she received hers, and then so after waiting some time, I called in about it, and they said, oh, it's on its way to you, and so then I waited another week and a half to 2 weeks, and then didn't receive it, so I called in again, so where's my ballot, and the lady I talked to on the phone said that they've had many reports of people not receiving their ballots.
Wow.
So I said just go in and vote in person, which I did. But what goes on with that? What about my ballot? You know, she said that it's the USPS that was responsible for it and with a problem line.
Yeah, we can look at your voter roll. We can look at your voter record and make sure that there hasn't been some inadvertent mail to address put on it, where it's been now mailed to some other address. We see a lot of changes in the voter rolls, especially with people's party affiliation. How many people remember during the primary they couldn't vote for President Trump, right?
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of that happens because you go to the DMV, you get your ID updated, you didn't know you registered to vote, so you didn't pick a party preference, so they're re-registering you as a no party preference, therefore you can't vote in the primary. Well, we don't want an election system like that, ladies and gentlemen. We want one that doesn't have to be built on trust. But it's one on, we know what's happening to our election record. We know what's happening in our election systems, how they're counting ballots and processing all of these different systems. So, yes, last one.
Dominic has a question here, and if anybody would like other questions asked, Urson will be around for a little while later. After this question, I'm going to go in and talk to you guys and finish up the meeting. Here you go, Dominic.
Thanks a lot for your presentation. I thought it was very informative. When you think about signature validation, there has to be a standard in which the signature is verified against. What is that standard?
1 point of match. If the slant matches, they can approve it. If they go and look at the signature on the screen to verify the county record against the signature on the envelope, and those don't match in any way, shape, or form, they're going to open up the history of signature files. And let's say the last 5 elections that they participated in, those elections don't match what's on the ballot. But down here at 2008, there's a signature that matches what's on the envelope now. They can accept that. What happens in a lot of these is we're using these digital poll pads to sign our signatures when we go to the DMV or when we go to register to vote or when we go in to vote in person. So what happens? They don't tell you, hey, by the way, take your time, be careful, because this is what your signature on your envelope could be matched to. The other thing, there's no wrist rest to like actually sign it, right? You're just kind of signing in the air.
Always bad.
In Orange County, they are going to use this year's signatures from the envelopes to be next election's matching signature for voters. So I think that's a great improvement as far as being more up to date and modern.
So to the point that a driver's license, which is on record in the state and has a signature block in it, is not being used, but rather previous elections. It just sort of suggests to me that if you really wanted to audit the envelopes, because there's no signature on the ballot, if
Right.
you wanted to audit the envelopes, the ballot has already been gone into the system and counted, right?
Right, so what happens is they receive them in, they separate them into precincts, and then they go through and they do the signature verification. The ballots must be quarantined. State law says no ballot can be opened until signature verification is completed. So now we're watching signature verification. Again, in Orange County, we're spoiled. We get to actually watch signatures, not like all of you. And so we're sitting there and we're watching countless signatures over and over and over that they are approving and verifying that have absolutely no matching characteristics. And guess what we can do about that? Nothing.
That's right.
We, John Q. Public, we don't have any right to go and challenge a signature that's being accepted by a county employee that got 2 to 3 hours training. We don't have any right to challenge that. All we get to do is challenge the process not being followed. So it's kind of a rig from a standpoint that we've got people in every single TV screen that's going, no, no, and it gets worse after Election Day. Because you imagine looking at 1 million signatures. You're done. Finish this. I want to go home. And when they go and challenge one that say should have been accepted, they've got 5 other tiers. It's like the ballot duplication. We see them making mistakes and we call it out and they go, don't worry about it. That'll get caught in quality control in the next step. What do you mean, don't worry about it? What do we have an attitude of, I can just do an okay job because someone else is going to catch my mistakes? So signature verification is absolutely horrible, and the standards, and I can email those to you, you can pass them to the group, but there's 11 different things that they can look for. If one of the letters matches, if the slant matches, if so it's really doesn't. No, none of the standards would match in an embezzlement case in court. Absolutely wouldn't. And those people would take 30 minutes to 2 hours to analyze wet ink on how the pen went down, how the pen went up, the whole movements, the flows of it, and then take 6 to 8 hours to go write up their report for the court case. And I've watched 300 signatures be verified in 6 minutes. In Orange County. That's one signature every 1.2 seconds. And we go up and go, they're going too fast, and they tell us, well, you can't, that's not part of the rules. You can't say they're going too fast. So we have to get creative and say, they're not following the process, they're not opening up the history of signatures, they're not going through, but if you say they're going too fast, or I'm challenging this signature, that's it. And if you keep doing that and pressing them, you're gonna get kicked out. That's the type of elections that we have running our county elections. But we've got to go experience that. In LA County, you guys, it's particularly tough. Thank God Gascon, but your sheriff isn't all that good. Your board of supervisors is very challenging. Your register of voter was sued, Dean Logan was sued in Washington State before he came here. And your board of supervisors said, that's the perfect guy to come run our elections. So we have a long way to go here, and we've got to take it to the most local level to impact the kind of change. In a county with, what, 10 million people? 10 million people that you guys all have to manage here. Let's take it to the cities. Let's win back those cities. Let's take back our own elections locally. And and then we can build a movement towards actually doing and accomplishing what we want in the state. Thank you all.
Thank you.